Welcome to Money in the Air, the music podcast about neighboring rights, the royalties you earn from the public performance of your recordings and the business of music in general. Brought to you by IFR, the International Association for Artists and Rights Holders. I'm Andrew, a royalty consultant helping artists to collect on their value.
Hi, I'm Gina Deacon. I work for Absolute Rights Management and I work with record labels and artists to ensure we claim the royalty income due to them.
I'm Stacey Haber and I'm from Inside Baseball Music Publishing.
Hi, I'm Tanya Oliveira. I work for Transparence Entertainment Group. I focus on World X USA neighbouring rights on the performer side and rights holder side.
Hey, welcome back to Money in the Air, the neighboring rights podcast brought to you by IFR, the International Association for Artists and Rights Holders. And today we're going to talk about being the original rights holder and licensing recordings, and then who registers as the rights holder. So here's my question for you guys. You're the original rights holder. The licensee, the label that you license the recordings to, doesn't register as the rights holder with their new ISRC numbers. And as a performer, you're not getting paid. What do you do?
Register on their behalf as if you are the rights holder to fill that gap. If they're not doing their job, you should not be penalized for missing out on the performer's share, definitely, but the rights owner share as well. I would go ahead and register on their behalf. And if they want to go in and dispute, they can certainly do so.
At PPL, you would be known as the original copyright owner. You can go ahead and register those ISRCs because, as we all know, you can only backdate 1 year. So the sooner the better. And it's in the artist's best interest, isn't it? And then if a year or two down the line, within, say, for example, a 5-year exclusive licensee term, the label pops up and starts registering the same ISRCs, thereby causing these disputes, then you can deal with it. You can relinquish the certain time periods, and it's very easily resolved because disputes happen all day, every day at PPL.
The only time you might have an issue when you're relinquishing the rights is the date involved, because if the licensee has the agreement start date and that crosses over with the date that you've registered, then PPL may well side with them and say that they are giving them the rights with effective from that beginning start date. But the fact that you've done the work, you've made the claim, they may take that money back from you if you've been paid it already, and hand it over to the person who has a legal document to say they now own the rights.
So what I might do is I might have a word with them outside of PPL and say, change the start date to X so that no money is lost. You didn't license it time. Okay, cool. Yeah. And then what happens at the end of the license period? Does the original copyright owner get to keep those ISRC numbers from the licensee, or do they just go away?
The code should always stay those codes. The code shouldn't change unless there's a new version or a remastered version. Those codes are unique to that specific recording and should stay with it for its life. When people register the recordings, they don't necessarily put an end date. Why would they? Why would you want to put an end date when you can carry on collecting income for as long as you can? However, obviously, when the new or the correct rights holder comes in and takes over, then they should go in and confirm that the end date is to be applied and the date that they are to take over from.
Good. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. And if it goes into dispute, you just have them relinquish as of the proper date. What about if it's a bootleg? Someone's stolen your recordings and put it out under their own label. Do you go ahead and claim those ISRCs?
Absolutely. It's your recording at the end of the day, and they didn't get permission from you to either remix it, to release it through their own label, however they did it. So if you're performing on it and it's your recording, you're going to claim it as your income. It doesn't matter if they're distributing it, releasing it onto other streaming platforms or wherever they're doing it, it's still yours.
Good. Anything else you think I've missed that I should have asked?
I think it's worth bearing in mind always having some kind of paper trail, whether it's email correspondence or an old school agreement or a receipt of studio time, just something that proves that you are the rights holder. Just in some dispute scenarios, PPL asks both parties that are claiming an ISRC to submit evidence. And if one party has, the other doesn't, it just doesn't look good if you don't have evidence. Even if you are the original copyright holder, it's just, it's worth proving that somehow.
Again, it comes down to the fact that every collection society has its own individual rules with regards to registration and disputes and claiming and so on. Australia, for example, don't tend to work with ISRCs. So if you've got a track registered by an artist and a title, and you go to register another track, then in their mind, on their database, they have that recording registered already. Doesn't matter that it's a different recording. So you can get conflicts, and then these have to be resolved between the two parties. You can imagine how many times this happens. It's just one of the cases where, unfortunately, the CMOs don't work in unison at the moment.
That stinks. Cool. Well, thank you very much. That was really helpful. And thank you for listening to Money in the Air. Remember, go to www.ifar.co.uk and become a member. And then you can ask us anything anytime. Or you can always email us at info@ifar.co.uk. And don't forget, we have our conference coming up, which is the first ever and only conference dedicated to neighboring rights. It's June 21st and 22nd. Make sure you sign up now. Bye.